Okay. Good evening and welcome to the August 28th, 2025 regular meeting of San Diego County Community Power Board of Directors. I'm Tara Lawson-Raymer, Vice Chair of the Board representing the County of San Diego. We welcome members of the public, community power staff, and board members joining us today at the Port of San Diego Administration Building. I now call the meeting to order. Mari, will you please call the roll?
Director Elo Rivera.
Present.
Alternate Director Fisher. Director Insunza.
I'm here.
Director San Antonio. Director Suzuki.
Present.
Director Yamani.
Here.
Vice Chair Lawson-Raymer.
Here.
We have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. Please stand and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Next, we acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the land of the original inhabitants of the greater San Diego region. A land acknowledgement is a critical step toward working with Native communities to create meaningful partnerships and inclusion in the stewardship and protection of their cultural resources and homelands. Let's take a moment to honor these ancestral grounds that were the traditional lands of the community. Okay, thank you. So we'll begin with a special presentation. Today, we acknowledge and recognize former board chair and now supervisor Paloma Aguirre for her years of service to San Diego Community Power. Our CEO, Karen Burns, has some remarks.
All right. On behalf of Community Power, I want to thank Supervisor Paloma Aguirre for her dedication and commitment to our organization. As a member of the board and most recently as our chair, Supervisor Aguirre brought thoughtful leadership, consistent engagement, and a genuine passion for serving our communities. We want to wish her all the best in her new role as a county supervisor and look forward to seeing her when she comes back as our county alternate. As a token of gratitude from Community Power and on behalf of the people we serve, we want to honor her with a proclamation to recognize her outstanding service. I won't read the entire thing, but I want to call out a few lines and then we'll go down in the front. Or should we do it in the front first?
Why don't you go down?
Okay. Go down. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for everything, Paloma. So excited to have her as my new colleague. You're so lucky. I am so lucky. So we are pleased to welcome alternate director Jack Fisher, representing the city of Imperial Beach. I would also like to welcome Pete Polonsky, Senior Rates Analyst, and Gordon Samuel, Chief Commercial Officer, to introduce themselves.
Good evening, Vice Chair and members of the board. I am Pete Polonsky. I recently joined Community Power in early July as Senior Rates Analyst. Immediately before joining Community Power, I graduated with my Master's in Climate Science and Policy from UC San Diego Scripps Institution of Oceanography. And before moving to San Diego, I lived in Hawaii and worked for the Public Utilities Commission there on a variety of energy policy issues. I grew up in North Carolina, but I'm excited to call San Diego home now.
Chair and directors, I'm Gordon Samuel, the new Chief Commercial Officer. Started 3 weeks ago, so getting up to speed very quickly. I'm to Community Power with over 25 years of experience. That's 6 with Valley Clean Energy in Northern California, another CCA, and then over 20-some years with Arizona Public Service and investor-owned utility in Cleveland area.
There are none, Madam Chair. No. We do not, Madam Chair.
One, to the professional services agreement with JSR, adopt resolution number 2025-08, adopt resolution number 2025-12. Do any directors wish to pull any items from the consent agenda? No items to pull. Do we have any public comment on the consent calendar?
We do not, Madam Chair.
Wow. Okay. Are there any board member comments, questions, or a motion on consent items numbers 1 through 13?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please do a roll call.
Director Elo Rivera. Alternate Director Fisher.
Aye.
Director Insunza.
Yes.
Director San Antonio. Director Suzuki.
Aye.
Director Yamani.
Aye.
Vice Chair Lassen-Weimer.
Aye.
Carries.
Okay, thank you so much. We now move on to item 14, election of officers for Community Power for the remainder of calendar year 2025. We hold an election for the position of chair and, if needed, for the position of vice chair. Do we have any public comments on this item?
We do not, Madam Chair.
Okay. We now turn it over to board members for comments and for a motion for the office of chair.
I'd like to make a motion if it's okay, Madam Chair. Being that, and I'm going to miss Supervisor Aguirre. She did an excellent job for all of us, her professionalism and her tact, and it was a pleasure, and it's going to be sad seeing her go. I see strong, obvious leadership on our board, and I am hoping that our interim chair, who I'd call the chair of the Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Chair Lassen-Weimer, would accept my nomination to be chair of our board.
Thank you. I'd be very honored to accept your nomination. Thank you. Any comments from anyone? Please.
You know, this is obviously my first meeting here with us. I'm not new to governance. I think that, you know, the role of chair of this board is very important, as well as the vice chair. I've served on the Sandag board, and I've seen what happens when the county supervisor chair does take a load, and I don't make that determination. I'm not going to say that, but I think it's important that as a chair of this board or any other board that we serve on, that you know, the commitment is there, And I think that making sure that the chair is here in attendance would be an important thing to me. I looked over the meeting minutes for the last couple of years, and I know that as vice chair, you've missed quite a few meetings. And I just want to make sure that the commitment is there. That's all. And again, I'm not judgmental. I'm just looking at facts, what I've seen. I did look over so I'm not denying. I would absolutely support that. I just think it needs the commitment. That's all.
Madam Chair, I apologize. I don't think we gave time for anyone to consider seconding the motion. I have a motion on the floor. If anyone's willing to second, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you.
Who seconded? I'm sorry.
Director Ela Rivera.
Perfect. Then I will call the roll, Madam Chair.
Well,
Direct-
let's give a moment if anyone else has comments or
Apology.
for a conversation. We have a motion of second. Any other comments? Okay, go ahead. Please call the roll.
Director Ela Rivera. Alternate Director Fisher.
Aye.
Director Insunza.
Yes.
Director San Antonio. Director Suzuki.
Aye.
Director Yamani.
Aye.
Chair Lassen Reimer.
Aye. Thank
Motion
you.
carries.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much. I appreciate it.
On that note, Madam Chair, if it's okay, I think we just lost our vice chair. Would this be,
I'd like to make a nomination for that, on that. I'd like to nominate Dita Siamani for vice chair.
second?
Wow, we have a lot of people thinking along the same.
Well,
line.
we
Thank
work
you.
with Director Yamani on the Finance and Risk Committee, and she is absolutely committed and asks all of the questions and all of the questions. I mean, all of the questions.
All of them.
And
All of them.
but that alleviates our duty, because then we can, or at least our burden, because she carries it. And so I really think she would be a fantastic vice chair.
Thank you. We have a motion, a second. Any other comments? I'll make a comment. I've had the pleasure of serving with Ditas for a number of years, and her growth from her curiosity over the last few years has been amazing. I remember she walked in, she said, I don't know what this board does. And now I feel like she could give all of us a lesson in everything about San Diego community power. And I am so grateful for the leadership and the relentless focus that she has brought to the job. So,
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're only as good as what the staff will provide us, and I thank you for them, the guidance and the education that they always are very generous to provide. I thank our CEO for, providing that direction to all of us in order for us to be able to serve and lead how we should be. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
Director Ela Rivera. Alternate Director Fisher.
Aye.
Director Insunza.
Yes.
Director San Antonio. Director Suzuki.
Aye.
Vice Chair Yamani.
Aye.
And Chair Lassen Reimer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. We now move on to item 15, adoption of resolution number 2025-10, requesting CalPERS to authorize the division vote of community power employees to participate in Social Security, and upon receiving authorization, authorize community power to conduct the division vote. Chandra Poog, sorry, I got your name right? You. Okay, thank you. Senior Director of People Operations Administration will present this item.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair. Tonight, I am recommending adoption of Resolution 2025 requesting CalPERS to authorize the division vote of community power employees to participate in Social Security and for community power to conduct the division vote upon receiving said authorization. Community power and employees have been contributing to Social Security since the agency's inception. In 2021, a 401(a) plan was established to which community power contributes an amount equal to 10% of the employee's salary or the employee's benefit. To continue Social Security participation, community power needs a Section 218 agreement with the Social Security Administration in order to cover former, present, and future employees. In California, the Section 218 agreement is administered through CalPERS. Community Power is working closely with CalPERS to put a Section 218 agreement in place. Next slide, please. The election requires initial board resolution, formal 90-day notice to employees prior to election, final board resolution, submittal of application, and agreement to CalPERS SSA approval. The election will be administered through CalPERS. Employees can opt in or opt out of Social Security. An opt-in means employees stay with our Social Security status quo. Opt-out means employees can no longer participate in Social Security. Each employee chooses for themselves. Former employees and future employees remain in Social Security as long as at least one employee opts in. With that, I'll pause for questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from my fellow directors on this item?
Thank you for all the answers to my question, because I think this is not new. It's just checking.
Moving
yes,
to 218.
moving, yes, yes. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Madam Chair.
Any other comments or questions from fellow directors? No. Do we have any public comments on this item?
We do not, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chair. Sorry. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Marie, please call the roll.
Director Elo Rivera, Alternate Director Fisher,
Aye.
Director Insunza,
Yes.
Director San Antonio, Director Suzuki,
Aye.
Vice Chair Yamani,
Aye.
Chair Lassen Reimer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we now move to item 16, adopt resolution number 2025-11, establishing and approving a claims procedures policy. Vera, our general counsel, will present this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair and members of the board. This action is seeking board approval to approve a government claims procedures policy. Recently, the legal office undertook basically an analysis of the existing policies that we have to identify which ones might need updating and which policies might be missing. And this is one that we identified as one that we do not currently have. That is a nice to have for a public agency. Essentially, under the Government Claims Act, prior to filing a lawsuit, certain types of claims must be presented to the public agency for processing to allow the agency time to evaluate the claim and determine maybe that they might want to settle it before it goes to litigation. But under the Act, certain types of claims are exempt from that process unless the public agency expressly brings them in under a government claims policy. So what we are seeking is for this board to adopt the policy so that we can then bring those types of claims into the policy. And those include claims that are brought by the state or other public agencies, certain types of employment claims, claims under the revenue and tax code, and there's a few other types of claims that fall into this category. In terms of process, what it would do is we have a document that people need to submit or file if they want to submit a claim. And it would allow the CEO and general counsel to evaluate that claim, evaluate the evidence, make recommendations to the board for how to handle or settle that, and give us the opportunity to handle that claim outside of litigation. So we're seeking board approval of this policy.
Thank you. Do any of my board, directors, fellow directors have any questions or comments?
I'd like to just make a comment. I just want to thank the legal team and Vera for taking care of these things. I know you folks put in a lot of work bringing these policies forward for us. And this is a very important one because it would help circumvent, what could be big problems to be better and easily resolved. So thank you for that work.
Thank you. Any other comments? I'd just like to echo Director Suzuki's comments as well. We know things can go really sideways if we don't have really thoughtful measures in place regarding potential litigation. So it's a very good step. Do we have any public comment on this matter?
We do not, Madam Chair.
Okay. No public comment on agenda item 16. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass item number 16 or adopt it.
Okay.
Second.
A motion by Director Suzuki, second by Director Nzunza. Please call the roll.
Director Elo Rivera,
Yes.
Alternate Director Fisher,
Aye.
Director Insunza,
Yes.
Director San Antonio, Director Suzuki,
Aye.
Vice Chair Yamani, Chair Lawson
Aye.
Reamer. Motion carried.
Aye. Okay. That motion passes with everyone present voting in favor. We now move to item 17, adoption of resolution number 2025-9, approving a disposal of surplus property policy. Dr. Eric Washington, the CFO Treasurer, will present this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and congratulations to Madam Chair and Vice Chair Directors. I'm Dr. Eric Washington, Chief Financial Officer and Treasurer for San Diego Community Power. I'll be presenting item 17 tonight, seeking board approval for the adoption of Resolution 25-09, approving the disposal of surplus property policy. So this policy, periodically, San Diego Community Power will take a holistic view of policies, existing policies, and also identify opportunities for adopting new policies that will govern the operation of community power. It's within the board's purview under our JPA section 3.2.12 for the board to adopt, approve policies, procedures within its at its discretion. So as a result of a holistic review, as I'd mentioned, this policy was identified as an outcome from that review. So surplus property is defined in the policy as all furniture, equipment, and other tangible assets owned by community power that are determined by the chief executive officer to be either obsolete, damaged, or no longer usable in the organization. My apologies for not advancing the slide. Okay. And so essentially the policy lays out the framework, not only for the disposal of surplus property, but also the approval framework in which the disposal of those assets would be allowed. And as demonstrated in this slide, it lays out that property value less than $500 is considered as either regular waste items or items that are no longer needed within the organization. Going up to the next tier of properties valued at $500 to $25,000 would be within the purview of the chief executive officer to approve the disposal of those items. And then, of course, as demonstrated in this slide, any property valued over $25,000 would be an item that would be brought before the board for approval. And so the policy also lays out the methodology in which we would dispose of those assets as presented in this slide, either as regular waste, items that are deemed to be recyclable, or a direct donation of those disposable assets, or auction of those assets. So given with respect to the method in which we would dispose of those assets, if there are any monetary values associated with disposal, the recycling or auction of those assets would circle back or feed back into our operating budget. So I'll pause there to see if there are any questions from the board. If none, we're seeking approval for the adoption of this policy via Resolution 25-09. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments?
Thanks, Dr. Washington. So just a couple of questions. How do we determine the valuation of property if it was bought for $10,000 8 years ago and we're getting rid of it? How does that determine it? Or is there somebody who's going to take care of the valuation of property to be disposed of?
Yeah, that's a great question, Director Fisher. Thank you so much for it. I would certainly have to circle back with you on that, but we track these assets from an accounting perspective, and typically those assets are depreciated under a depreciation schedule. So that would be one way that we could determine the value of the property at the time of its disposal. From an accounting perspective, we typically account for items valued over $5,000, and so again, the items would be defined as the furniture, equipment, computer type equipment that might be obsolete, or equipment that's simply damaged.
I think if we had an objective system, it'd be a little bit easier than somebody determining you know, because we might have changes in personnel. The other question I have is, do we currently have any property or surplus, or not surplus, any property that's worth over $25,000? And I'm just wondering, because that's a pretty high ceiling. Again, I don't want this to be a laborious process where things are coming to the board that this team could take care of on their own.
In terms of assets that we would have over $25,000, nothing comes to mind from an items perspective, from a single item perspective, but potentially it could be an aggregate of computer or technology type equipment that might exceed that dollar.
Okay, so it'd be like the thing where if you had a bunch of computers or opposite, you'd group them together, not individually value them.
Well, the policy applies per item. We do not currently have anything valued over $25,000, but we were looking at things we might purchase in the future, which could potentially be a vehicle. That would fall under that category. We might have a couple of desks that are worth over $2,500 or $5,000 threshold.
Yeah,
that's about it. But right now we just have laptops that we need to dispose of that are worth over $500.
No, and I think it's good to have this. You know, as the agency grows, I think there's an important part of looking towards the future. And I think that, you know, during my briefing, I talked about, you know, is there an asset management system in place? And it was meant that they had, I think you mentioned, or it was mentioned to me that it's for items over $5,000 that are automatically put into that system. So I think that maybe, you know, again, I'm okay for today, but in the future, maybe look at some alignment with the numbers and how everything jives together. So I think this is a great step in the right direction.
Like the question.
Thank you. Is that a motion?
I would approve this to move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, there are no public comments.
Okay,
There are
don't
none.
worry, I won't forget. We have a second by Supervisor, sorry, Director Yamini. Okay, do we have public comments on this item?
We do not, Madam Chair.
No public comments? Okay.
There are none.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. We'll take a vote.
Director Elo Rivera,
Yes.
Alternate Director Fisher,
Aye.
Director Insunza,
Yes.
Director San Antonio, Director Suzuki,
Aye.
Vice Chair Jamani,
Aye.
Chair Lassen Reimer.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, thank you very much. We now go on to item 18. Approve renewable power purchase agreement with IP Darden. Andrea Torres, Director of Origination, will present this item.
Good evening, Chair Lawson Reamer and Board of Directors. Yes, I'm here to present to you a recommendation for staff approval of the board's approval of a paired solar and battery storage PPA. Right, navigate this one. Okay, so this project is a almost nearly 92 megawatt solar PV and 92 megawatt battery energy storage project for lithium-ion battery energy storage system. It is part of a larger planned installation by Intersect Power, nearing 1.2 gigawatts, and that's on the solar and storage side. It's located in Fresno County, so it's a bit farther north than some of the rest of our portfolio. It's fairly de-risked as far as projects go from a developing standpoint, fairly advanced. It has its conditional use permit by the California Energy Commission, and it has a fully executed interconnection agreement. A little bit of details on the contract. So it's part of that fully bundled contract we've seen before in terms of providing renewable energy capacity value and tolling services from the battery. That's the energy arbitrage value. It is a bit of a shorter term than we usually have, and as in terms of duration. So it's a 12-year contract with a guaranteed COD of June of 2028. As with the majority of our other contracts, it's fixed price with no escalation. And really importantly, there's no prescribe, there's no price adjusters for if there's additional tariff increase or the loss of investment tax credit. You may remember I came here and presented with my colleague Patrick Welch back in June on a presentation on the risk from administrative actions on the tax credit front and tariff and what that means for a portfolio. So this project is one of those projects that is more advanced in its development and is de-risked to a sufficient measure such that we have fixed pricing despite being in the current regulatory environment we're in. And as with the rest of our contracts, we have the typical financial compensation if the project's delayed and performance requirements throughout the delivery term. So this project with 92 megawatts of solar will contribute to our renewable targets in 2035 at 100%. Pricing is competitive in compared to other recent offerings out in the market. It will provide, this project does have full capacity deliverability status, a hot commodity out in the market that's granted by CAISO, and that enables the project to provide key resource adequacy benefits to our customers. In addition, Intersect Power's strategy in particular really focuses, even prior to administrative actions, on a high percentage of domestic content to really support the energy transition to have domestic manufacturing, but it also has the benefit of mitigating the risks of tariff adjustments in the future. So really, when we talked about our strategy for pipeline and our focus wherever possible for projects that aren't asking our customers to take on the risk of those price increases, this is one of those projects. From a workforce development and community benefits, so as I mentioned, the larger project is well over 1 gigawatt of installation. We are just one of a handful of off-takers. There are actually 4 other CCAs who are off-take entities, in addition, with more to come, most likely. So the larger installation will be providing over 1,600 construction jobs and 14 permanent jobs. The project will be constructed with a 5-craft project leader agreement. They have committed $100,000 to our community benefit fund to benefit our customers here. And then they do have, as part of the permitting process, as you can imagine, such a large project, they do have a long-term community benefits plan that will benefit community members out of Western Fresno County with a focus on education, economic opportunity, transportation, air quality, healthy foods, and housing. I believe this is my last, oh no, sorry, one more slide. Oh no, I don't know. That was my last slide. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any about this project.
Thank you. Any questions by any of my colleagues on this item?
So again, being new here, I'm not sure if this is a contract that we see often with these new power providers. In the news, we often see these lithium-ion storage areas catching on fire and burning for days and days and days. What, again, this probably is a general question, maybe not specific to this agreement. What is our guarantee if they catch on fire that there's no liability on this agency and that they're going to be able to provide what they say they are going to provide as far as power in the future? Because it's a fairly long contract, which I assume is fairly normal. You want to have guarantees on both sides. I just think that it's important to understand, I think that as we see these storage systems, I think there's a responsibility of these providers that they should look at, ways to put fires out quickly. And I think it's such new technology that, and I know that's costly for anything that to put these fires out, but I think there's something that needs to be built into that in the future, just to protect the agency and to protect our ratepayers, that they're going to continue to get the discounts and pricing that they want.
Thank you, Director Fisher, for those questions. So yes, battery fire safety has definitely been escalated in conversation in light of more recent battery fires. We do understand that these projects have more advanced technology than some of the Moss Landing fires, which are containerized. We're really kind of encountered a perfect storm of risk of what they call thermal runway. These projects and technology is more advanced to mitigate that risk and ensure that if for some reason a fire happens with, say, one module, that they can contain it so it doesn't spread to the rest of the facility. I'll say in general, we're in support of, as an agency, staff of legislation that has a balanced solution toward ensuring that these projects are meeting the stringent requirements for to be in compliance with that list of thermal runway. I know there's county fire departments are typically heavily involved in the permitting stage as they get these projects permitted to ensure that they have all of the fire suppression controls, alarm systems, etc., so they can prevent these kind of catastrophic events. Director Yamani.
Through the chair, thank you. Through the chair, may I maybe request our CEO through her because we make 2.5 years sitting in this dais. I see similar projects, and I was asking our CEO during my briefing. I have heard that, but then it's different names, and so maybe it would be prudent for us to get a spreadsheet of this project similar to what you are presenting right now. Whether this where we the community benefit, the the capacity, all those description on a spreadsheet that will simplify to us how these projects where we are, because I know we have a lot. We're evolving very, very quickly, and I believe that giving us a summary of these projects will also help us.
Yeah, so thank you, Director Yamani. Just so I'm clear, it would be a summary of our existing contract portfolio, that public information that we have in terms of capacity and community benefits, as you point out, technology, etc., location. And
yes, please. Most especially, just piggybacking on Director Fisher, most of these are under PLA, and I believe that would, the description of it, that would also give them a better overview of where we are now.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Let me take a moment. I think that's a wonderful suggestion. Just before you run off and make a chart that then is missing some columns that others might be interested in. Does anyone have any other questions that they'd like to have addressed in this chart that Director Yamani has requested? We have community benefits. We've got duration. I think in community benefits is sort of including labor and other aspects. Duration, location, size of the project, anything else. I just want to make sure we don't come back to you with the same request in a different form. So yeah, anything else that people would want to see on the chart?
Possible we could maybe get some of the terms of the PLA, just in terms of how many people, like percentage of it has to be local, or I don't know if you'll have that, but the just to make sure that they're hiring local people to I know that the labor unions are involved and they've got it. So just if we could get that would be great. And I'm sorry, just one more. The population of the area just around it. Just I know it's probably rural or semi-rural. Maybe there's no population at all, but just something like a more
radius or something.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll add if there's any to what extent there's sort of other community benefits like rate cuts or like discounted rates for like local community members. Yeah.
Less on the positive side and more on the risk side. I think it would be good to know of any kind of high level risks that we see. And we could get more specific with having different categories of risk, but in my mind, I think, you know, Councilor Fisher mentioned some, is this project uniquely risky in that sort of way? Is it particularly susceptible to changes in federal policy that could impact the ability for the project to continue on? Or those are the sort of things that I think would be kind of helpful on the front end. All of these are really important as well. We weigh the potential positives with potential negatives when we're making decisions, and knowing what some of those might be would be helpful for me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Director. I do remember in the June board meeting, you had some good questions about how we're thinking about risk, so the actions occurring at the federal level. And so in line with that, I assume that we're looking into.
Yes, it's very similar to that, but just kind of anything that falls into that general category of things that you all are kind of thinking of as particularly potentially risky.
Couple other thoughts. Commercial operations data would be good, and then also like details on like what type of energy project is this, right? Like geothermal, solar. I think it's in the pipeline. So, okay, well, that's a great thought. So thank you very much. And you don't need a motion for that, right? We're good.
Yes, we do, Madam Chair. We have a public comment.
Item you do, but
Oh,
not by
by
chart.
My next board meeting? By when? What time? When would you like this?
Right, so for the approval of the PPA, yes, but for the direction to staff, it's not agenda items, it's just a follow-up request.
Great. Okay, that's just a follow-up. By next board meeting would be great. And do we have a motion and a second on?
Madam Chair, we have a public comment. We have Christina Marquez.
We love to hear from you, Christina. Thank you.
You forgot about me. My name's Christina Marquez. I'm with IBEW Local 569, the Electricians Union of San Diego and Imperial Counties. First of all, we support this project. It does have a project labor agreement, which would have some requirements for local hire, women, minorities. It gives opportunity for someone like myself to work on amazing projects like this. Because of PLAs, I was able to help build San Diego. So, but I also do want to say that because it's built by IBEW members and other skilled and trained workers, we're the ones who go through the rigorous training of 4 and 5 years that include, you know, how to work with these dangerous systems. And so I would like to say that, you know, it's being built by the best. So you can feel confident that it'll be built by the best. And then it sounds like there's a maintenance agreement if there's going to be employing 14 people full time after. So maybe there's a maintenance agreement and it's possibly maintained by the folks that built it. If you guys ever do sign a project labor agreement, I'm not saying you guys don't, but if you do happen to sign a project labor agreement with Intersect Power, I know they have a proposed project in Imperial Valley called the Perkins Project. If you guys do end up buying their power as well, you'd be safe to say that we are almost probably better than any of those folks up there in anywhere in California, because one of the requirements that our apprentices and journeymen have to go through in order to graduate is ESAMTAC. It's an acronym, ESAMTAC, energy storage and microgrid training. It's something that's not required, but we've been doing it, knowing that one, these are dangerous systems, and two, we knew that battery energy storage systems would be a thing of the future, and that was in 2018. So we have over 600 apprentices and journeymen that have that certification. So hopefully you guys are able to sign some power purchase agreements, some more here in San Diego and Imperial County. And Intersect Power has been a great developer to work with. We have a PLA with them already, and they've already done a community benefit agreement out in Imperial to help construction workers with childcare that starts at like 4 a.m. or something. So I just wanted to put that out there, and hopefully you guys will support this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment?
None, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve recommendation by staff, Madam Chair.
Okay, do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
No, we have a second. Please call the vote.
Director Eloy Rivera.
Yeah.
Alternate Director Fisher.
Aye.
Director Insunza.
Yes.
Director San Antonio. Director Suzuki.
Aye.
Vice Chair Yamani.
Aye.
Chair Lassen Reimer.
Aye.
Motion carries, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. We now move to item 19, 2024 Power Source Disclosure Program Annual Reports and Power Content Label, and adoption of resolution number 2025-13, approving the submission and testing the accuracy of Community Power's 2024 Power Source Disclosure Annual Reports. Kenny He, Director of Power Contracts, will present this item.
Thank you, Chair Lawson and board members. I'm going to talk you through a little bit of the background and the reason we have to come to you with this board item. And so every year, our team has to put together and file what's called a power source disclosure, which literally breaks down every megawatt hour of renewable energy that we produce and all of the supporting documentation that goes behind that. So there is full traceability from every project we purchase from to our retirement of those renewable energy credits for each megawatt hour that we're procuring. So this is all done by code that is submitted to the California Energy Commission. After they review that, then a power content label is prepared. That is what typically is what is consumer facing. So we have to post that on our website, and there's also requirements to mail that out to each customer who is served in that prior year. So there is a little bit of a change this year. Previously, the load serving entity, so Community Power in this case, would put together both the power source disclosure and then be given the template for the power content label and fill that out and submit both of those for approval. So in prior years, we brought both of those to the board for approval. And so you would have seen both documents. This year, the CEC changed that procedure a little bit, where they have received and will review the power source disclosure, but they are putting together the power content labels for all of the LSEs, so every load serving entity in the state, and they'll provide those to us for us to post and for us to mail out. So what you'll see today is some mock-up numbers of what that content label is going to look like, but not the full content label as we've done in previous years. One of the requirements before they provide the power content label is every load serving entity has to have a board level attestation for the veracity of what was in the power source disclosure. And so that's why we're coming to you at this board meeting. That'll then be submitted to the CEC, and they will again send the power content label to us sometime in mid to late September. We have to post that in early October, and then the mailer needs to go out late this year or early next year. So what is a power source disclosure? So this is literally line by line every megawatt hour that we do, and a lot of this effort really breaks down to, I want to give the proper respect to a couple folks on the team. Carly Meek, who runs our renewable portfolio, again goes through this on a daily basis and validates this on our team on an annual basis. As well as Aaron Hudak, who's on my team and runs our compliance program. And so again, they will handle that in-house. We do also have a third party that reviews all these numbers as well. And what this report does is compares the total retail sales for a full calendar year. So this again is focused just on 2024, and then against all of the renewable energy that we have procured in that year. And it breaks it down by product. So right now we have 4 product offerings to our customers. There's different enrollment levels in each of those. And so you can see here, this is just a quick snapshot of like the rolled up version of this, which is, okay, we have certain customers that are on the Green Plus, certain that are Power On, certain that are Power 100 and Power Base. So you can see a bulk of our customers are on Power On. You can see the load numbers there. This kind of how the report breaks down is line by line each megawatt hour, and then that rolls up to what was unmet, which is the net difference. What that looks like and what you guys are probably more interested in is what does that mean as far as the renewable content for each of our customer product types. And so this again is not the official power content label. We won't have that until mid to late September. But the same numbers that roll into that is what's in the power source disclosure that we've already submitted to the CDC. So if you roll that up, this is what that looks like. So we've committed to 100% renewable for 2 of our products right now. That is the Power 100 Green Plus and the Power 100. So both of those we split right now 50-50 between solar and wind of what supports those. And then we have 2 other products. So the Power On for this year, and I'll show you on the next slide how this compares year over year. But for this year, we are slightly over 53% renewable. We had a slightly smaller carbon-free portion of our portfolio this year. So our overall carbon-free is a little over 5%, and that leaves 44% from unspecified. Our power base, which again is supposed to be rate competitive, is set at a lower, but still above the state RPS standards of 45%. Predominantly that has a higher percentage of the biomass and biogas. The reason for that is, as you'll see when the power content label comes out, that not only provides the percent this, but each one of these product categories also gets a rolled up emissions factor. And then there's a comparison of that to the state averages. Because those who are opting down into the power-based product are typically doing that for affordability and not renewable reasons, the biomass, although it's renewable, does have an emission factor that some of the other renewables don't. So we wanted to have a higher percentage of that in that product. So overall, if you look on that on a portfolio level, we're almost 56.5% and a little bit 58. And a little over 58.5% renewable. So again, well on our way to tracking towards the goals that we have for 2030 and 2035. And the last slide I have here before I'll take questions is just I wanted to give, we've been now serving mode for 4 years now, so I wanted to kind of show what that trajectory looks like based on the 4 products. So the 2 new products, 2024 is the first year, the first time we'll be on the power content label. But for the other products, you can kind of see that transition. And so we have grown more renewable year over year from last year. The reason there's kind of a dip in 23 is those of you who've been on the board for a long time recall there was mass enrollment. We did like the phase enrollment, so the mass enrollment, but kind of a lot of that kicked in 23. So while we had fairly stable contracts that underline our renewable megawatt hours, our load went up quite a bit. And so now we've had that stable load for 23 and 24, and we have brought on more renewables. And I'll just put this out there for you guys. As I oversee kind of our power contracts, and we'll share, I think that's a great idea to provide more detail than that spreadsheet to you guys. But just for reference with this, we had 1 additional PPA come online in 24, which kind of helped with that rise. We'll have 1 in 25. So I would expect again to see this at or above that number, hopefully in 25 as well. We have 8 that are supposed to come online in 26. So again, all the hard work that Andrea and her team have done with origination, you'll start seeing that really start in numbers 26, 27, 28 as a lot of the larger PPAs start coming online. I think that's everything. Yes, thank you.
Okay, do we have any questions? Any questions from any of my colleagues? Thank you very much. Any comments from public comment?
There are none, Madam Chair.
Okay. No public comment, no questions from my colleagues. Do we have a motion and a second?
Move to adopt resolution 2025-13, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Yamani, a second by Director Nzunza. Please vote.
Director Eloy Rivera,
Yes.
Alternate Director Fisher,
Aye.
Director Insunza,
Yes.
Director San Antonio, Director Suzuki,
Aye.
Vice Chair Yamani,
Aye.
Chair Lassen Reamer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We now move to item 20, update on regulatory and legislative affairs. Laura Fernandez, Senior Director of Regulatory and Legislative Affairs, and Patrick Welsh, Associate Director of Legislative Affairs. Aisha Sista, you got that right? Okay, Senior Policy Manager, who's joining us online, will present this item. Just to remind folks, this is a bit of a long item. There's been a lot of forward interest in this item. So I appreciate the work that has gone into putting this together and looking forward to the presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good evening, board members. Patrick Welch, Associate Director of Legislative Affairs. Going to provide a quarterly legislative update. I think maybe I'll pause there, see if there's any questions, and then turn it over to my coworker Aisha online for her portion of the update. I have been before you several times this year to focus really on federal issues. Today, I'm going to bring an update to you on state legislative issues. Happy to discuss anything else that's in the report, including federal issues as well, if you have any questions on there. So I have, I think, 4 slides today. Want to give you a snapshot of where we are in the state legislative process and what Community Power has been working on and advocating for, and in some cases against in the state legislative process this year. The legislature adjourns on September 12th, so we're entering the final stretch of the lawmaking season in California. We have reviewed over 170 pieces of legislation this year. About 90 of those are still moving through the legislative process. The Senate and Assembly Energy Committees have held 7 informational hearings on energy matters and 17 bill hearings. So a pretty active year on energy issues, a lot of interest in it. It is energy writ large is a major issue shaping the end of session this year. There are several significant debates that the legislature and the governor are trying to land compromises on, including energy affordability, extending a utility or IOU wildfire fund, and addressing grid market regionalization. Moving on to issues that Community Power has been working on, we are supporting 5 bills that are still moving through the process. I'll run through them very briefly. AB 44 would help our virtual power plant and flex load process by enshrining some rules of the Energy Commission for load modification. We're also supporting a related bill at AB 740 that would put forward a statewide virtual power plant plan that would be complementary to our goals and efforts here in the San Diego region. Related to better energy safety, I know that came up on a previous agenda item in today's board meeting. We're supporting SB 283 that is moving forward, which would set new statewide standards for all battery energy storage installations throughout the state by establishing new pre-fire department inspections, post-installation inspections, ongoing coordination with fire departments, and would codify a new industry standard known as NFPA 855. So we see that really as a really well-balanced solution that's going to be able to keep moving forward battery technology as a part of our clean energy future, but still hold the industry to the highest safety standards. So there are still federal clean energy tax credits. Some of them still exist until through the 2030s. There is state legislation by Senator Pia here from the San Diego region that would bring state tax conformity to how those tax credits are treated, potentially bringing additional savings to those types of energy technologies. And then finally, Senator Blake Spear is offering legislation that would continue a property tax, a very limited property tax exclusion that helps customers save money when they install solar and battery on their homes or small businesses. We have been supporting several bills as in any legislative process that are no longer moving forward. I want to flag just a couple from the screen from you. There are 2 related to what I would call general government issues, and the Brown Act. The legislature is in the process of rewriting significant portions of the Brown Act. We had been supporting 2 separate bills, one AB 259, which would continue what we call the just cause and emergency circumstances teleconferencing standards that were really developed during the COVID time, extend that through 2030, and also SB 239, which would streamline those standards, make them even more simple for subsidiary bodies like the Community Advisory Committee. Both those bills were put on pause and put into a different legislative vehicle, SB 707, which is a broader rewrite of the Brown Act bill. So substantially similar provisions are still moving in the legislature, just not in those specific legislative vehicles. Now, focusing on a couple areas where we took a different stance and posture in the legislature in accordance with our policy platform. We currently have an opposed unless amended position on AB 825. This bill is what I would call a pretty sweeping affordability bill. It has a number of different provisions in it related to ratepayer protections. Unfortunately, buried in there is a specific new development called the Statewide Energy Demand Side Management Task Force that would have binding recommendation authority over our programs or programs that actually this board approves. So this is really a local control issue for us, where we are just trying to work in concert with the author to achieve ratepayer savings, but also protect the board and community powers autonomy as a local agency. So really, we're framing our opposition, I think, in a really friendly and positive way, but need to take that stance in order to try and move forward with amendments throughout the legislative process. We have also been supporting SB 540, but we're currently moved to an oppose unless amended position as well. That has been quite a roller coaster of a bill. That bill deals with regionalizing the electric grid. I'm happy to get into more new details, but the bottom line, I think, takeaway for tonight is that a regional grid, if done right, and doing it right means independent governance for over that market, can result in over $800 million in ratepayer savings every year in the state of California. And so the governor has engaged on this. There were some amendments that went into the bill that made it an unworkable bill. And so we're part of a coalition trying to work with the governor to kind of walk back some of those amendments and get that legislation back into a better position so we can achieve those ratepayer savings. And then finally, we are working also on advocacy related to the state budget, really trying to support pots of funding that the legislature has put forward this year, primarily for local programs. So that would be programs that would help invest in battery storage, solar, and energy efficiency programs in the San Diego region. As you are well aware, the state budget is pretty tight this year, so I don't know how successful the coalitions we joined will be in securing some of this funding, but we are an active voice and participant in this conversation. And that wraps up my portion of the presentation. I'd be happy to pause there and see if there are any questions.
Do any of my colleagues have any questions?
I have a comment, Madam Chair. Since Patrick, I thank you for your presentation. Since these legislators are on recess, effective September 12th, they're all going to be in their local offices. Maybe it would be time for us to visit them and give them a 10-15-minute education. We do this as realtors. We go to them. We have a red piece of paper. We give them that information. You have 6 that we are advocating here, 6 or 5 ABs and 3 SBs, and 3 of this legislator, San Diego County. We can visit them and maybe educate them more on the policies or the legislation that or the bills that we're pushing.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Other thoughts? Please.
So, well, thanks for bringing up 283 and talks about the data storage. So, again, I think we would all agree that we like local control and we hate when Sacramento sends stuff our way, and it makes us to be compliant to have to pay for it. Obviously, with these power generating plants being built and the permits being issued and stuff like that, is there any thought of future legislation that would require, like Cal CCA, with having all the CCAs and providing funding to local fire departments who have these power plants in their backyard, giving them a way to deal with it? Because the best plan is always a hopeful one. The reality is accidents happen, things do go on, and it was explained earlier that there's lots of systems we put in to mitigate it. But I would like to see that in these areas that we participate in funding local fire departments to deal with the inevitable, because it's not if, it's when.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I haven't heard discussion of that particular element in the conversations that I've been involved in, but I'd be happy to take that back to the folks we're working with. In particular, I think the developer community too, who is really working closely to install these and on the ground and working with their labor partners and have those community benefit funds and see what kind of work they're doing with fire departments, do that training. I know there is cross training between the battery industry, the developer community, and the fire committee. So I'd love to learn more about that and see if I can bring some information back to you. If that's okay.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm up next, just doing a quick sound check. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, next slide, please. So my name is Aisha, and I am providing a quick update on SDG&E's efforts to withdraw from Regional Energy Efficiency Program Administration. And so I believe all of you were aware, was it last year already, that SDG&E announced its intentions publicly to withdraw from energy efficiency. And of course, this would have an impact on the San Diego Regional Energy Network. So we've been naturally, tracking this very closely, coordinating with SDG&E. But I wanted to, give you an overview of where we're at with the application proceeding, and that's the mechanism SDG&E has to go through to seek approval for withdrawing. So key milestones are April 25th, which is when SDG&E filed their off-cycle application to discontinue their administration of regional energy efficiency programs. I will note that there is one regional energy efficiency program they do wish to continue administering, and that's the Codes and Standards program. But all other programs would roll off at the end of their contract term. The next milestone here was May 29th of this year, and that's when protests and a response to that application were filed. For our part, SDCP partnered with several other RENs and was also joined by the city of San Diego in our protest of SDG&E's application on the grounds that it's not clear that SDG&E is permitted by statute to withdraw. This is an unprecedented action from an investor-owned utility program administrator. So we're in completely new territory and believe that a thoughtful process needs to be undertaken before the application can be really truly considered. So now our upcoming milestone is September 5th. And that's when legal briefs are due. And so that will be an opportunity for us to lay out in more detail our interpretation of statute as it applies to SDG&E's interests in withdrawing. Then September 26th is when reply briefs will be filed. And then November 2025 is when we expect a proposed decision on the legal permissibility of SDG&E withdrawing. And then December 2025 is when the CPUC is set to vote on the decision, and we will know at that time if they are indeed able to withdraw. And if that is the case, there will be another suite of issues to wade our way through, but that is what's coming up in the near term. Next slide. And so just to share, we don't have our legal brief ready yet, and again, that'll be filed on September 5th. We did want to share what key issues will be addressed in these legal briefs that are filed by ourselves as well as other parties who are participating in this proceeding. So first and foremost is assessing statutory compliance. The CPUC wants stakeholders to weigh in so they can assess whether SDG&E is legally permitted to withdraw. The impacts of withdrawal. The CPUC also wants to hear from stakeholders in their briefs how we think legal mandates would be satisfied if SDG&E withdraws from regional program administration. Two specific mandates that are in focus here are the requirement for investor-owned utilities who administer energy efficiency programs to first meet unmet resource needs with energy efficiency. This is something that we often refer to as the loading order. And then the other mandate that's in focus here is the achievement of CPUC assigned savings goals for the investor-owned utilities. So those are two big pieces of statute that it's really unclear how those statutory requirements would be met if SDG&E withdraws. And then finally, the role of SDREN. The commission is interested in hearing from parties on the commission's legal authority to assign SDG&E's responsibilities to the San Diego Regional Energy Network. So that concludes my 2 slides. I am happy to take any questions.
I have a question to start. It'd be helpful for you to talk through the implications for San Diego Community Power as an entity, but also for regional provision of affordable green energy as if this is to move forward. That's sort of one question, and then I'll have a follow-up.
Yes. So the implications for San Diego Community Power in our administration of SDREN would be if the CPUC does deem it legally permissible and approves SDG&E's application, then it would be up to SDREN to then conduct its own assessment to evaluate to what extent we'll add new programs to our portfolio to fill any gaps that come from SDG&E's programs. And then in terms of the provision of affordable clean energy, energy efficiency is one of the lowest cost ways for us to reduce load. Of course, you know, the cheapest kilowatt hour is the kilowatt hour you never use. And so through SDG&E's contributions to energy efficiency, that's having an impact on all the customers in San Diego County. And so we, you know, that's one impact that's not clear. And then also the other bit of affordability that the other affordability impact here is SDG&E makes claims that withdrawing would save ratepayers $300 million if they were to withdraw, and that $300 million would be presumably saved over the upcoming 6 years. There's been, in the protests that were filed by other parties, there were three other parties. They really called into question the accuracy of that claim. And if the CPUC determines it's legally permissible, then we get into another phase of the proceeding where we examine those affordability claims to get a better understanding and deeper analysis on what those affordability impacts would truly be. Since at this point it's not clear and a lot of questions have been raised.
And my follow-up question is, what is our understanding of why they want to have an early withdrawal?
Yeah, their claim has been, again, as an affordability measure, they are seeking withdrawal.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions from anyone?
Follow up with that question, Madam Chair. They're just seeking withdrawal just because they wanted to? I don't understand. Really?
Yes. That is, in terms of what's been shared with us and on the public record, that's the extent of our understanding, is that they wanted to do this as an affordability measure given the current political climate.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Please, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have one more presenter, yeah? Yeah. I think we do. Oh, that's it? Do we have anyone else? Oh, no, sorry. I meant on this item. I wasn't sure if we had a third person. Okay. Okay. Do we have any other comments or questions on the item? Do we have a motion?
There's no motion.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, we have no public comment on the item as well.
We now move to item 21, updates on results from clean prepayment transaction number 2.
Good evening again, Madam Chair, Dr. Eric Washington. I'll be joined for this presentation by Jeff Spengler, our Senior Finance Manager, Senior Strategic Finance Manager on this item. So this is a receive and file presentation to the board as a result of the outcome from our prepay number 2 transaction. For some of our directors, this is maybe a refresher or reminder of some of the benefits by doing these types of transactions. So the goal for these transactions are pretty much focused on generating, to some extent, savings to enhance affordability on our energy costs through the use of tax-exempt bond capacity that allows load-serving entities to prepay for long-term energy supplies. Allowed under U.S. tax code, but primarily used since the early 90s by natural gas to support natural gas transactions, aggregating over $75 billion in transactions. Since 2021, Community Choice Aggregators, through our issuer, Community Choice Financing Authority, has issued over 21 transactions, accounting for about nearly 22 billion in transactions where we've been able to generate cost savings that we have been able to pass on directly to our customers. So we issued our first prepaid bond transaction in November that was supported by approval of the board. Our second transaction, which we're presenting tonight, the outcome from that transaction, that was closed in July of 2025, that the board approved in June of 2025. So with that, I'll invite Jeb up to the podium to present the remainder of this item. Jeb.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board. I'm Jeb Spengler, Senior Strategic Finance Manager with San Diego Community Power. And Eric gave a good introduction. I was here in June to receive board authorization to move forward with this transaction. Just by way of additional background, this is a quick snapshot of the 21 transactions that have occurred in the state from other CCAs dating back to early 2021. At the same board meeting, CCCFA board meeting that we had authorization to move forward, Ava Community Energy also authorized not one, but 2 transactions. We got a little bit lucky. We were able to actually leapfrog them in the market. They have an offering document out on the street, which they are trying to sell. They have not sold it yet, as far as I know. So we were able to enact our transaction, I think, on the one day between approval and today, that this transaction would have worked. We hit the market. We had to get the market had to be in a certain way, with tax exempt and taxable rates. So we were able to sell and close the transaction in July. So when I was here in June, the resolution authorized staff to move forward with a prepayment transaction as long as 4 execution parameters were met, and happy to report that all 4 parameters were met. One being not to exceed 1.5 billion in bond proceeds. The final principal amount was just over 1 billion. We needed to achieve a minimum discount of 8% on the prepaid energy purchases. We received a discount of 10.5%. Total issuance costs could not exceed 1%. Total final costs were 0.62% of proceeds. And importantly, the bonds are not obligations of Community Power. We issued these bonds through CCCFA, and the bonds are secured by a pledge of the trust estate, which includes all of the funds that go in and out of the custodial account. And the good news slide, results of the transaction, and I'll highlight a few things here. The first being, again, the principal amount just being over $1 billion. The municipal bond rating on these bonds was an A2. And just important to note that that's not San Diego Community Power's rating. That's actually the rating of the funding recipient that receives this money. And on this transaction, it was Forethought Life Insurance Company. That's their Moody's rating for the transaction. And that's ultimately the obligor of the bonds. That's the credit that investors are purchasing. Interesting for this board to know, we received a green bond certification. The green bond measurement measures alignment with UN Sustainable Development Goals. Those goals include affordable and clean energy, energy infrastructure, sustainable cities and communities, and climate action alternatives to avoid greenhouse gas emissions. On the green bond certification scale from Kestrel verifiers, we received a score of 5 out of 5, which is the top 1% compared to all electric bonds, utility bonds sold with a green bond rating. So the highest rating you can possibly get. The importance of that is it entices certain investors that look for these types of green bond investments in their portfolios. And it entices some investors that might not otherwise show up. So that was an important rating to get. We received a discount of 10.5%, as I mentioned, which is $7.625 per megawatt hour between 925 and 734, which equates to just over 6.1 million a year in energy cost savings over the first 9 years. These savings on top of our prepay one transaction total just over $6 million in the early years, and those ramp up to almost $16 million by 2030. So this being our second prepayment transaction, we're evaluating an additional prepayment transaction right now, which we'll bring to the board at a future date, and we have some runway to potentially enact future prepayment bond issues, which hopefully will get these savings double or triple this. Again, agreed. And that's the first thing.
Thank you very much. I just want to say, first of all, congratulations. Feels like you got a really little window.
Yeah,
sort of squeezed right in there. So good job. Any questions from anyone? It's a really good news item. Thank
Through
you.
the chair, you worked fast.
Yeah, that's amazing. You just sort of like had one 12-hour period. So thank you. Anyone else questions or comments? Director Euler Rivera? Just thinking.
Thank you. Yeah. So pardon me for thinking out loud now. Brace yourselves. So I definitely see the benefits. I understand this. I'm going to try to articulate this question correctly. There's the savings that we receive today, and then there's the value of that money over time. I'm trying to understand if that savings that we receive today outweighs what we could otherwise do with money over time, if that makes sense.
So these savings are on existing energy contracts that we have. And the energy contract that we are prepaying is purchases that we make from our sister TCA CPA. So we're purchasing energy from them at an index. Through this program, we actually purchase that same energy at an index less than $7.45 per megawatt hour. So this is a construct that's only available because we have access to tax-exempt bonds, and we're essentially providing tax-exempt funds to a taxable entity in the Forethought Life Insurance Company. And that spread produces this kind of economic savings in this transaction. So in short, I don't see any other way you could get $6 million in energy savings on or 10% reduction in energy costs any other way.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
10.5. Okay. Thank you very much. This is the receive and file. Okay, thank you.
And no public comments again, Madam Chair.
Fantastic. Karen, we now go to the CEO's report.
Okay, fine. All right, so we've had some recent speaking engagements. I was at the California Power Summit at the Burbank Department of Water and Power, speaking on a panel about advancing affordable, resilient, and clean energy, along with Matthew Langer, the COO of our fellow CCA Clean Power Alliance. Also this month, Dr. Eric Washington spoke at the North San Diego Business Chamber's Military Summit, sharing his experience transitioning from the United States Navy to a civilian life and power career. And Community Power's Senior Director of Programs, Colin Santulli, spoke at the South Bay Economic Development Center Summit. He spoke on a panel featuring several utilities and was able to share about some of the great work that we are doing in our programs team. Next slide. And as always, our team has been out and about in the community, getting to know our customers. Earlier this month, we were in National City at the Olivewood Gardens Day of Play, a family event that promotes learning, growing, and making healthy choices. Last weekend, we were at the Chula Vista Lemon Festival, celebrating Chula Vista's history of agriculture and lemon groves. And just last week, we held a summer mixer for our Power 100 champions, local businesses and organizations who choose 100% renewable energy. The mixer was held at Gilly's Cocktail Bar in North Park, one of our newest Power 100 champions. Next slide, please. We are excited to celebrate the third cohort of our Community Clean Energy Grants at a press event next Wednesday, September 3rd. We'll be celebrating 14 awardees at the Partnership for the Advancement of New Americans, or PANA, at their future site of their Refugee and Immigrant Cultural Hub located in City Heights. Thank you to Councilmember Ela Rivera, who will be joining us to give a few words about our awardees' commitment to a more sustainable San Diego region. Looking ahead to the end of September, we are planning to relaunch our solar battery savings program on September 30th. The program had a very successful pilot run last summer, and we've been gearing up for a relaunch. At our September board meeting, Colin Santulli, our Senior Director of Programs, will be providing an overview of the program ahead of the formal launch, including our contractor training and onboarding rolling out next week. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Well, I just want to say, kind of as in conclusion, as my first meeting as chair, I think I've been on this board for 4 years now. Certainly would remember how delighted we were when Karen came to interview, and just really excited to continue being part of this. And it's just this team is doing an amazing job. Karen, your whole team is doing an amazing job. So thank you, and really excited to continue forward as we sort of move into a new era. And I do think we're kind of in a difficult moment with energy, with clean energy, and I feel that we're very fortunate that we got our sea legs under us in a, frankly, like a less fraught time. And now I think hopefully, you were very thoughtful in thinking about building up a lot of our financial positions to be a little bit more resilient, being pretty conservative with a lot of those decisions and what you recommend we do. And I think we're in a really strong position for the headwinds that we are definitely facing now. But I'm just excited to continue doing the work to provide low cost, clean energy for San Diego. Thank you. Do you have any other comments for any director? No? Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of our agenda. I appreciate everyone's participation today. And the next regular meeting of the Community Power Board of Directors will be on September 25th at 5 o'clock.